Hey everybody, in this video we're going to be talking about Stephen King's 1975 novel, Salem's Lot. It was the second novel that he published, and it set him well on his way to becoming the infamous king of horror that we all know and love. I don't actually have first editions of these books, so I'm going to be turning to my friend and world-class Stephen King collector Noah to demonstrate the first US and first UK editions and show the points to look for when trying to identify authentic copies of these very rare and valuable books.
Hey everybody, so today we're taking a look at Salem's Lot, the first US and first UK trade editions. This is the US first edition of the book. It was published in 1975 by Doubleday. It's a little bit of a confusing book to collect because of the various states of the dust jacket. The dust jacket was published in technically 2 states, although most people talk about 3 states of the dust jacket. The first state was actually a pre-publication state. It was never released to the public. So I personally don't consider it to be an actual state. But you're going to find that people talk about first state. So going with that, there were 3 states of the jacket. I'm going to open this up, and this is what is commonly called a second state jacket. The price is clipped, and there's a printed price of $7.95 here. All of the dust jackets for the book were printed with a price of $8.95, which Doubleday, after the jackets were printed, they decided that $8.95 would be too much money for this book. So they clipped all of the jackets in-house. They clipped these. These were not clipped by customers or bookstores. Doubleday clipped these and then reprinted a cheaper price here. That's how the book was released to bookstores. So if you walked into a bookstore in 1975, this is what you would have found. You would have found a book with a price clip jacket and $7.95 printed here. However, there was a mistake in the copy, which I'm looking at this backwards, but right here you can see it says Father Cody. The character's name was Father Callahan. So when this error was detected, they reprinted the dust jackets, fixing that mistake, and by then they also fixed this. So they printed the $7.95 in the correct spot, and that's what's known as the third state dust jacket. Although really, it's the second state of the jacket that was actually purchasable. So the third state, as they call it, we'll say Father Callahan here, and we'll have a $7.95 price printed here. Okay, the original $8.95 price or first state of the jacket was never released to the public. You could not have purchased it. And then years later, only a handful of those were discovered in a filing cabinet at Doubleday. They were folded and stored in a file cabinet, and now they sell for, $75,000, $100,000. But really, it was not something that was ever purchasable by the public. So that's, to me, that's why I don't really consider that a state. So two states that you could have purchased the book in: the second state, which is this, and the third state. Anyway, this is what the book looks like. You can check the copyright page. Copyright page of the book will indicate it'll say first edition up here, and no indication of printing, because Doubleday, as we saw with Carrie, uses a printing code. So if you look at page 439 in this book, the last page here, down in the gutter, we'll have a printing code of Q37. I don't know how well you can see that. Q37 there. I don't want to open this too far, but Q37, the Q stands for 1975, and the 37 stands for the 37th week in 1975. So that's when this was printed. So a second state will have a later, Q number later in the year. If it says R, then it was talking about 1976. So it would be a later state. So anyway, your tips for a first printing of the first edition of this is the first edition on the copyright page, Q37 in the gutter of this last page, and to check the state of the jacket, this $7.95 with a price clip is a second state, $7.95 printed here, and Father Callahan will be a third state of the jacket. So that's the US. Here we have the UK first edition. This one was published by New English Library, and it has a price of £3.95, £3.95 UK, printed on the jacket. Trying to remove the glare there for you. And the copyright page will say first copyright, first published in Great Britain by New English Library down here, with no further indication of printing. That's how you know it's a first printing of a first edition. And that's pretty much it with this guy. So it's pretty easy to tell in this one whether you have a first or a later edition. So really, not a ton to look at here. Although the artwork on the UK, in my opinion, is way cooler than the US. Same with Carrie. But this is kind of lame. It does not look like a horror story or a vampire book, whereas this clearly, you have a screaming kid. This speaks a little bit more to what the book is about. So I like it. But there you have it. US and UK, Salem's Lot.
Thank you very much to Noah for showing off those wonderful books. And what's amazing to me when I think about Stephen King's original Doubledays, what's really remarkable, he was in his 20s when he started publishing, and those first 5 books, with the exception of Night Shift, his first collection of older material, but the first 4 novels really represent such a jump, a leap forward. Every single book is better than the one that preceded it. Bigger, more epic, broader in scope, more confident, and it's just exhilarating to take them as a whole unit. And I mean, first 4 novels of a long and illustrious career have, each one of them in its own way is a modern horror classic. But anyway, after Carrie, Salem's Lot is twice as long, more characters, more complex, and my idea of Carrie is sort of this closed-in, kind of claustrophobic piece, and it's kind of mean, and it doesn't have a lot of light that comes in. And Salem's Lot is just like going from a closed room full of religious paraphernalia in Carrie to opening the door and going outside, and it's a big beautiful day, and yeah, there's a big old house on the hill and it's scary, but the sun's out, there's pretty girls walking around, there's possibility, and there's mystery in the air, and it really is such a leap forward. And then came The Shining, and then probably the ultimate 70s book of Stephen King's career, The Stand. But I didn't go in chronological order when I was reading Stephen King. I started with Carrie, and I read Carrie multiple times, and then I read The Shining, and then The Green Mile, and some other stuff. And in the early 2000s, I was working a job where I was responsible for answering a phone and doing customer service, and I couldn't leave my post, so I had a lot of time to just be near the phone. And I'd recently gone to a library book sale, and I saw a paperback of Salem's Lot. This same actual literal paperback, and I picked it up because I had heard about it. I knew it was one of his earlier ones. I knew it was the vampire novel, and I kind of thought that was corny and that I wouldn't like it, but 25 cents, and I did have to man my post and be near that phone. So I picked it up, and I started it while I was at that job, and almost immediately it just pulled me in, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've read it a few times since. And every time I read this very paperback copy because it is sentimental and special to me. And it's hard to rank the first 5 or 6 books because they're all unique and classic in their own way. And Salem's Lot does not rate at the top of the list for me, but it's a lot of fun. People that like vampires but have never read Stephen King, Salem's Lot is a great place to start. People that are open to horror, maybe younger readers potentially who are open to horror, never read Stephen King, Salem's Lot is also a great place to start for them, or anyone who's just curious about Stephen King. It is, I don't know if it's the classic American vampire novel, but it is certainly a lot of fun. And as Peter Straub has said in one of his essays where he writes about Stephen King, he thought that it was a hell of a brave thing in the mid-70s to write a vampire novel and to tackle that time-worn sort of stereotype. But Stephen King makes it contemporary. He breathes fresh life into it, and all the vampire stories that have come since that feel contemporary, that aren't like in some moldy, mildewy castle in Transylvania, but like in your hometown, I think they all owe a debt to Salem's Lot. It's a fascinating book and a major milestone in Stephen King's career. But thanks again to Noah for showing off those wonderful books. I appreciate your time and your collaboration to help me bring these videos to YouTube. And to the viewers, I appreciate your time and your support. And wherever you are, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye.